So on my way to work, I was thinking about the first time I got in a fist fight when I was a kid, and it was just a random thought. And then I thought about all the people. Well, let me tell you the story first. So I was 13 years old, and up to that point, I was kind of picked on because I was a little slight kid. I was very small, and I was very sensitive, actually. Would cry a lot, that kind of thing. And I hated school. I held all that angst in. Just struggled. And then at 13, I was down in the village of Scotticoke, and where I grew up. I was a country kid, and I rode my bike down there, and this kid was messing with me, and I just started punching him. And I remember how, this is going to sound rough, but how free I felt, and excited that I stood up for myself. And that started a difficult time in my life where I got in a lot of fistfights and had a lot of conflict. But what I was learning was I was learning how to navigate in the world and how to deal with conflict resolution, right? And in those days, boys fought. I don't know how they do it nowadays. I think that a lot of people maybe don't fight and don't resolve that, and I see the ramifications of that are really dire as we get older, because people can't handle their emotions very well. Because you sort that out, the sort of violent streak, the male violent streak, you sort that out at a time in life when the consequences aren't so great, and you kind of grow out of it. By 19, I wasn't getting fights anymore. I found out that having a broken nose or black eyes wasn't a lot of fun, and that getting punched in the face was wasn't all that exciting, and vice versa. And hurting people really wasn't something I wanted to do. But I think it was necessary for me to understand that that's where things can go, and to push that limit, and then understand, ratchet back into a place where you use your mind instead of your fists. I really feel for the people that didn't have that experience. I know that sounds crazy, but there's a certain amount of wisdom you get out of that experience. You really do. You learn respect. You learn who to mess with, who not to mess with. You learn conflict resolution. You learn when to keep your mouth shut, and when to open it, right? When is it appropriate to be assertive, and all of that. And you also learn how to be diplomatic, because you don't want to throw fists, because it's terrible. I see these people who are violent in adulthood, and how horrible that is, and I feel like they never understood that. People think that the kids that were fighting when they were young are the problem, and I think with a little tutelage, a little bit of maybe wrestling, a little bit of boxing, and a little bit of that sort of conflict in sports, and if you're not in sports, get involved in a combat sport. All of that stuff, I think, is a good way to figure out life, and how to restrain yourself. I certainly can walk around the world now, and I'm pretty much unafraid. I can, because I can handle myself physically, but also I can restrain that, and have for 30 years. So there's a wonderful thing to be self-assured physically, and I'm not a big guy, but it's just a nice feeling. And the best feeling is, though, the restraint I have. I've had plenty of conflict in my life, but I've been able to restrain that and know that, no, I don't want to have a sore nose or a black eye, and I also don't want to do that to somebody else, that there's better ways of dealing with that. And I don't think I could know that without that experience, for what it's worth. All right. I don't know why I brought that up. It was just a random thought.